All right, welcome to our attendance zone modification informational session tonight. I'm Justin Terry, superintendent here in Forney ISD, and just wanted to start by just saying thank you. Thank you for taking the time this evening to listen to a little bit of information about what we're about to embark on as a community and a school district together. Would like to first off let you know we've got a great team in the room to talk through some information with you, as well as be proactive on some of the questions that you may have as we begin to talk about moving our attendance zones around a little bit this year. I also wanted to direct your attention to our website, and we're going to talk a little bit more about this later, but this is where you will be able to find all the updated information as well as our FAQs that will begin to be shared. And so make sure that you're very familiar with our website and how to access that. And Kristen will talk to you a little bit more about that towards the end as well. So I wanted to start by just talking to you a little bit about why we are here and a little bit about Forney right now and what we're experiencing as a community and as a school district. And as most of you guys are aware, when you drive around town, we are growing. And although we've had some challenges with COVID across the state and the nation, really the growth here in Forney has not really slowed much. In fact, we've actually just received our latest demographic update from Templeton Demographics. And I want to talk to you a little bit about what they shared. And it was that not only are we growing fast, we're growing actually faster than what they projected last year at this time. So just a few things to highlight for you is over the next 10 years, we're projected in Forney ISD to grow over 1,000, between 1,000 and 1,400 students, new students every year, bringing into our school district and our Forney family. At this time last year, I was sharing with most of our community that we were projected to be a 20,000 student school district by 2030. And the latest information that we've received is that now the 20,000 student mark will be hit in 2027. By 2030, that's 10 years from now, we are projected to almost double the size of our school district. We're almost 13,000 kids right now. And a lot of that has to do with the amount of new homes and new active subdivisions that are coming into our community. We currently have, and I'm sure if you've driven around, seen a lot of new homes, but that equates to about 16 active building subdivisions in our community. But we also keep an eye on what's coming. And we've been told that there are about 15 future planned subdivisions, and we've added to that number over the past few months. And this just kind of boils down to, we continue to be one of the fastest growing school districts in the state of Texas. A lot of that has to do with the wonderful school district and community that we live in, but also our location. And Forney is kind of the place to be right now. So I want to talk to you a little bit about where the growth is coming and share this information. I think this lays a good foundation as to some of the information we're going to share with you and why this information is being determined. So as you can see, the demographers have shared with us where the fast growth areas are within our school district right now. And as you can see in the green, that is the very fast growth and active subdivisions. Yellow are some of the future lots that are developments that we have to keep an eye on. Some of those have actually already broken ground, and those are outlined also in red. So again, over 2,500 lots are actually underway right now. New lots coming to Forney. We're one of the fastest growing districts in the DFW area, as well as the state, and continue to be. So every year they share with us kind of a 10-year forecast, and we utilize this data, our board does, to help make a lot of decisions in this school district. Everything from how we set our budgets and how we prepare our staffing to what we're here to talk about tonight, how we ensure that every child in this school district has a seat to sit in, and some of the future facilities that we have to navigate and build across our community. And so a couple of things I wanted to point out to you is the yellow means that we hit over capacity at those areas. And this is in our current model. And you can see there's a whole lot of yellow. And if any of you looked at this map, this projection last year at this time, that yellow was a little further off. And so as that yellow begins to get closer to us, we need to make sure that we have created opportunities for our kids to have a seat, and some of that means building new facilities. And if you've driven around, you've probably seen we've got a lot of construction projects that we've had underway. And actually this year, the 3 that we're going to talk about that are going to open next fall of 2021. And that is, there's an elementary school, Jerry and Helen Griffin Elementary at Devonshire, that is going to open in fall of 2021 for our K-4 students, as well as Rhodes Intermediate School and Jackson Middle School. These will all be available for our kids next year. We also have plans in the future actually to begin construction this spring on 2 other elementary schools. That's Willett Elementary School in the Gateway Parks development, as well as a new Johnson Elementary School in the Overland Grove development. And that'll be an expanded Johnson Elementary School. And those facilities are scheduled to open in the fall of 2022. So with that, you'll see on this map, we've got a lot of 14 schools that we currently have in Forney, and we're looking to expand, and those green marks with some new campuses opening next year. And so when you do expand and open new facilities, obviously some of the things that you have to do is determine where to put those, but also then once you build them and open them, how you're going to fill them with students. And so that's really what we're here to talk about tonight is, as we open new facilities, we have to allow for certain zones to be directed towards filling those schools equitably and efficiently to ensure that every kid's getting a quality education, not in an overcrowded school, that we balance that out, and that we then can provide appropriate staffing to continue to provide a high quality education for every kid here in Forney ISD. So as we move on, I wanted to share a few reasons on why we look at modifying our attendance zone annually. And I will say the key word here is annually. This is something that we've done for the last 3 years and will continue to do as a fast growth school district, is that we need to continue to look at this every single year. Some years it's a small adjustment, some years it's a little bit larger adjustment. But here's some of the reasons why every year we look at modifying these attendance zones. And the first one is really what we're here to talk about tonight: when we open new schools. When we open new schools, we need to add students to them and fill them up and balance some of the overcrowded schools that may be in other locations, or full schools in other locations. The second bullet there is we obviously want to project out and ensure that we're trying not to rezone every year if there is overcrowding that does occur, or future growth that spikes up for some of our schools. So we try and project to keep from other schools being full or overcrowded. We also want to look at always how to utilize our space efficiently and effectively. And a lot of that has to do with balancing the number of students that attend each school to allow for additional capacity for growth. And then finally, and most importantly, we want to make sure that every child has a seat, and they've got a seat in a classroom with a teacher that we can staff appropriately for every school that we add. So these are some of the reasons that we look at every year, kind of modifying some of our attendance boundaries. So let's talk about the process for attendance zone modification. And a lot of it is just what we've already shared with you. Each year, actually quarterly, we get an update on a couple things. Number one, we constantly look at our current enrollment in every campus. And then we look quarterly at from our demographers, the annual growth projections. In other words, how fast are we growing? How full are our campuses getting? And what are they projecting them to be a few years down the road, so that we can stay ahead of any overcrowding that may occur in a campus. Next, we look at our current facilities, and we look at our boundaries, and we look at our school district as a whole, and we try and evaluate the capacities and how much room they have left based on how fast we are growing. Next, our board, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about this, kind of begins to look at what and set goals and parameters for some of the priorities we want to focus on as a school district for our rezoning. And our demographer takes all of that information and then tries to focus on the goals and the parameters and brings back a draft plan. We're going to show you some of those tonight. And so once you see the draft plans, the next step is obviously the process that we're also in between right now, and that is receiving feedback from our community that they will then share with the board, and then the demographers will adjust plans if necessary, and then ultimately our board will adopt new attendance boundaries. So I talked a little bit about our board and their focus with and some of the priorities that they look at, and they've asked us to look at and our demographers to look at. First off is optimizing all of the space. In other words, we want to try and balance out and utilize efficiently and effectively all of the capacity of our schools the best way we can, looking at future growth, which is number 2. And as a fast growth school district, these top 2 are probably the things that we have to look at the most when looking at rezoning or modifying attendance boundaries. The demographers also want to take into account the proximity of homes and students to where their campuses are. That also helps with our transportation, which we'll talk to you about tonight as well. And then they always try and draw lines on a natural break, larger roads or highways or rivers possibly, or creeks, those types of things, some of the natural boundaries as well. So keeping in mind these rezoning goals, this year, as we look at rezoning, in the past, we've really talked about, different zones. There's a K4 zone, and then in the past, we've had a 512 zone, a 5th grade through 12th grade zone. Now that we are adding a few schools to our district, we are now going to look at 3 different zones. First off is the K4 zone. So you can see that we currently have Blackburn, Claiborne, Criswell, Crosby, Henderson, Johnson, and Lewis, and we're adding Griffin to that. And then the following year, we will add another campus, Willett, to that as well. So there's a map for K4 attendance zones. There's also a map for 5th through 8th grade attendance zones. And then finally, a map that would speak to our 9th through 12th attendance zones. So what I'd like to do now is move into some of the draft plans. And before I do that, I want to just take one of those zones and discussions about one of these zones off the table. And so one of the things I want to make sure everybody's very clear on is our current 8th through 12th graders. Next year, our high school zone is not changing. So your Forney High School zone and your North Forney High School zone, that will remain the same for the 21-22 school year. So we are looking at adjusting our elementary and intermediate middle school zones. And so now at this time, what I'd like to do is turn over the presentation to Kim Morsack, our Chief of Information and Innovation. Kim?
Thank you, Dr. Terry. We can go ahead and go to that next slide. This is our first blush at our new elementary rezoning. And if you live in Devonshire and you've driven down Ravenhill Road, you've seen the new Jerry and Helen Griffin Elementary going up there, right there on Ravenhill Road. So we're only showing you the top part of the map because for this school, it's only affecting those areas. And specifically, if your student is in Claiborne, Johnson, Henderson, Lewis, or Criswell, this rezone does not affect them in any way. So what we're doing is balancing out Blackburn and Crosby zones by opening up the new school in Devonshire. So it is the area in the brown that you can see in the upper right-hand corner. And once again, the only campuses that are affected by this are current students who are in Crosby and Blackburn. Next year, as we open 2 more elementaries, we'll come back and talk about the other schools that could possibly be affected. The next modification plan I want to talk about is our intermediate and middle school. As Dr. Terry showed you earlier, we are currently divided into 2 zones at secondary. When you open a 3rd school, you have to then divide that town into 3 pies. So as everyone knows, our growth right now is a little bit escalated on the north side of town. But when Dr. Terry showed you the hotspots, he also showed you we have active growth on the south side as well. We're a fast growth district and the growth is everywhere. So in order to relieve some pressure off of Warren and to relieve some pressure off Brown, we are opening Jackson Middle School and Rhodes Intermediate. And as you can see, that now divides Forney into 3 pieces. So the new green area at the top is Jackson Middle School and Rhodes Intermediate. Brown zone is now in the pink to the right, and then Warren zone, projected zone is down in the blue at the bottom. If we continue, if you'll notice, we currently have students at Criswell right now who cross 80 to go to school on one side of town, and now Gateway Boulevard and Gateway Parks is being moved to the north side of 80. There is currently a new thoroughfare plan with a projected road called Akron Way that will connect directly to Windmill Farms Boulevard that will allow two roads to cross over 80 into that neighborhood. As we continue, we are projected, as Dr. Terry said, to reach 20,000 students by 2027. That is that's about 8,000 new students. And as we continue to grow, we'll have to continue to add more campuses. When that happens, you don't divide the town in thirds any longer, you divide it in fourths. So there will be a future school if we continue at our current growth rates near Warren Middle School. There'll be a potential intermediate 4, and then a potential middle school 4 near Ray Intermediate. And when that occurs, we'll look at our attendance zone modification plan at that time and look at what elementaries feed into those middle schools and intermediate schools.
Thanks so much, Kim. And I think the key word here is draft, right? We appreciate you sharing some information on our draft plans that our demographers have presented. This is a process that we go through, and this is draft number 1 that we'll continue to evaluate. But wanted to share that with everybody tonight, and also try and get proactive on some of the questions that you may have about some of these possible changes. So we've got Rick Gear here with us as well, our Chief of Human Services. And Rick, you're here to talk to us a little bit about the 2 T's, right?
Yes, sir. Transportation and transfer. So if you'll go to that first slide, I think it has some really good looking buses on there. But as always, Forney ISD will continue to provide transportation to eligible students. The definition, or what qualifies a student for eligibility, is living 2 or more miles from the campus or living in an area that is deemed hazardous. And for those of you that may not be familiar with that term hazardous, as it addresses transportation, a hazardous condition exists in high traffic areas where there's no walkway that's actually provided for children to walk on. And it usually addresses something across a freeway or a major thoroughfare. But just as a reminder, in our board policy, that transfer students are not bus eligible. Okay, so talking about transfers, the district will continue to consider transfer requests as we have for many, many years. We will actually open up the transfer option a little bit earlier once the new attendance zones have been approved and the numbers for enrollment have been determined. Requests will be accommodated if possible and if the transfer criteria is met. Some significant determining factors in approval or denial of transfers will be the availability of capacity at the campus and obviously the assigned teacher allocation. So those are 2 important factors to make sure that we are not overcrowded on one campus or another. In our board policy at DB local is our transfer guidelines as they currently exist. And so I would recommend or encourage you to go look at that policy as well.
Thanks, Rick. I appreciate you sharing some of that information about the 2 T's that those questions usually come up during this process, and wanted to make sure and clarify those ahead of time. So as we begin to continue to talk about, the opportunity for changing schools or moving into a new attendance zone, Judy Weber, our Chief Learning Officer, is here, and she's going to talk to you a little bit about learning across our district, no matter what school it is, right, Judy?
Thank you, Dr. Terry. We are very, very proud of the work our district's done in the last few years to provide consistency among all of our campuses and all of our educational programs and all of our educational opportunities. We've really enriched our district in the last few years by bringing advanced academics down into our 5th and 6th and our intermediate programs, continuing those on up through middle and high school, and then starting some of our new academies. And so we've got consistent scope and sequences across our district. consistent future-ready curriculum across our district, consistent assessments across our district, and great alignment between all of our campuses. And so we're really proud of the effort we've made to have fantastic schools and campuses and learning programs. When we talk about our special programs, then there's a couple I'll address here today. First off is pre-K, and they're currently at Lewis and Crosby with dual language at Criswell. And as of today, it is our intention to leave our pre-K programs in their current locations for next year. We always evaluate numbers and look at attendance and growth, but right now our goal is to keep them in the same location. As far as special education, I know that students, some of them attend their home campus while others attend different campuses based on the different programs. And these are programs that we do have to evaluate every year for enrollment, and then facility space at each campus, and then facilities as the new campuses open. And so these programs are evaluated annually, and as we look at growth in our special education populations. So we'll have more information for those parents based on what program their children attend. For Dual Language Academy, our pre-K through 4, we're going to keep that at Criswell. We have a great program that we consolidated there. But with Dual Language Academy, we are, you should receive an email tonight for our parents with students in the academy. An email going out asking for parents to become, if they're interested, to become part of a steering committee to help us make some decisions for the future. For our 5th through 8th students who will go into 5th through 8 next year, one of the jobs we'd love our steering committee to help us with is to make recommendations on the program moving into the future. Additionally, the committee will help us really look at the whole program from pre-K through 12 and looking at what we can do to strengthen, enhance, and grow our programs to really have a complete program from our youngest students all the way through to they exit high school with wonderful kind of a dual language academy concept. In the same way, our Advanced Academy and Fine Arts Academy, our Advanced Academics and Fine Arts Academy that's at Blackburn, it will remain at Blackburn while we continue to grow that program down through kindergarten and then up through further grades. And in the same way, parents that have students in that academy should have received an email, and we're going to bring together a group of parents there and help us plan and grow that program for the future. So there's just a lot of exciting things, Dr. Terry, in our educational programs as we expand and grow in Forney, but as we remain consistent in excellence. So back to you, Dr. Terry.
Very good. Thanks, Judy. And obviously, you know, high quality education is important for us no matter what classroom or what campus. And we continue to offer that here in Forney. Our special programs are great opportunities for our kids to diversify. And they, you know, we have to evaluate those annually, no matter what program it is, and make sure that we've got them in the right location. But really excited to see what our dual language and Advanced Academics and Fine Arts Academy parents and committee comes up with for a recommendation. That's pretty exciting to see. All right, well, moving forward, guys, I'm going to turn it over to our Executive Director of Marketing and Communication, Kristen Zestful, and she's going to talk to you a little bit about where to find information, right? And you know, what this is going to look like over the next few weeks.
That's right, Dr. Terry. So right now we do have information on our website. If you go to forneyisd.net, under that About Us tabs, there is an attendance zone link. But the fastest way there is actually to go to forneyisd.net/attendance zones with an S. And there you'll find information about the proposed plan. It also has a link to our feedback form. And so we encourage you, if you have questions or thoughts, to please submit your information there. We will host another one of these informational sessions to try to answer questions that are coming in through that form. We are reviewing all of those. So you may get a phone call, you might get an email. It may be that we actually take that and it's one of our frequently asked questions, and you will find it in an FAQ that is being added to our website this evening as well. And so we are going to make sure that we review those, and we're also sharing those with our school board. So we are listening to you guys. And so you'll find the link to that form on that website, as well as next Tuesday night, we will host another one of these sessions here on our YouTube channel, Tuesday night at 6 p.m. And so we'll try to address additional questions and things that come in on that form prior to that date.
Thanks, Krista, and your team always does a great job of listening and getting back answers as soon as possible, and we'll do that in multiple fashions as she shared, and look forward to talking to you again on November 10th, again at 6 p.m. To answer any questions or any modifications or adjustments that may pop up throughout this process. So wanted to thank you guys for taking time out tonight to gather information. We encourage you guys, if you have questions, to reach out, to look at our website, to look at the FAQs, to ask questions that aren't there so that we can get those questions answered for you. There may be others out there who have the same question. But more than anything, guys, just wanted to say thank you as we close out. Thank you for the grace throughout this and the patience, as we know that this is never something that any of us look forward to. I can assure you of that, to move our attendance zones around. We understand that it impacts families, and we understand that it impacts our staff. And I can assure you that we take every comment and question to heart, and our board is always going to do what is best for our students, all 13,000 of them today, as well as the 7,000 that will join us over the next 7 years. And they're always thinking about those families as well. So again, no matter how our attendance zones end up, I'm still proud to say this is an incredible Forney family. We support each other. We have grace for each other. We have an incredible staff here that will continue to love every child that walks in the door, no matter what classroom or campus that they attend. So thank you guys for joining us tonight. We hope that you have a wonderful evening, and look forward to continuing this conversation with you in the future. Have a great evening.